She said she'd be unreachable. 6 days, no calls, no messages, completely off the grid. Just her and the girls, like every year. So I smiled and helped her pack. But something didn't feel right, so I did something I never thought I'd do. I synced her smartwatch to her parents' TV. Within minutes, the truth went live in high definition, and 5 men walked through the door of what was supposed to be an empty house. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where my viewers are joining from around the world. This is a story about lies that sound perfect when they have been rehearsed enough, about trust that was already broken before I even knew to look, and about how sometimes the truth doesn't need your confrontation, it just needs to be seen. It was a Thursday morning in early November, the kind of morning where frost clings to car windows like crystallized regret, and your breath makes clouds in the air that disappear as quickly as promises. Cold outside, but inside our 2-story colonial in the suburbs, everything felt warm, normal, routine. Like every other morning for the past 7 years of marriage. Like nothing was about to shatter irreparably. My name is Liam. I'm 34 years old, work as a network security analyst for a mid-sized tech company about 40 minutes from our house. I spend my days finding vulnerabilities in digital systems, protecting corporate data from external threats, identifying security gaps that most people never see coming. I'm good at my job because I'm naturally suspicious, methodically thorough, and I understand that the most dangerous threats are always the ones that look legitimate until you examine them closely. Ironic, given what I'm about to tell you. My wife Tessa, 31, marketing manager at a boutique advertising firm downtown, beautiful in that effortless way that some women have, organized to the point of compulsion, meticulous about planning every detail of her life, was in our bedroom packing for her annual girls' trip. This was a tradition that predated our marriage, predated even our relationship. Every November since her junior year of college, she'd spend 6 days with her college friends at a cabin upstate, a digital detox retreat, she called it, hiking, wine, catching up on each other's lives, unplugging from the stress and demands of normal life, no phones, no emails, no social media, no connection to the outside world, just nature and friendship and the kind of deep conversations you can only have when you're completely disconnected from everything else. I'd never questioned it, never had a reason to. It was part of who she was when I met her, part of the package I'd signed up for when I'd proposed 7 years ago. Every November, she'd disappear for 6 days and come back relaxed, recharged, glowing with the kind of peace you only get from genuine rest. Or at least that's what I'd always thought. This morning, I was making coffee in our kitchen, our beautiful, recently renovated kitchen with the quartz countertops and the professional-grade espresso machine that Tessa had insisted we needed, while she moved between our bedroom and the living room, methodically packing her suitcase. She packed like she did everything else in her life, methodically, precisely, with the kind of attention to detail that had made her successful in her career. Clothes folded with military precision, toiletries organized in clear TSA-approved bags even though she wasn't flying anywhere. Everything in its designated place, nothing left to chance. "Did you remember your hiking boots?" I called from the kitchen, watching the espresso machine drip dark liquid into my favorite mug. The one she'd given me 3 Christmases ago with "World's Okayest Husband" printed on it. We'd laughed about that. I'd kept using it ever since. "Already packed," she replied, appearing in the kitchen doorway with that smile I'd fallen in love with 8 years ago when we'd met at a friend's backyard barbecue. The smile that made her eyes crinkle at the corners, that lit up her whole face, that had made me think, even on that first day, that maybe I'd found someone special. "I've done this 8 years running, babe. I could pack for this trip in my sleep at this point." 8 years? Before we were married. Before we'd even met, actually. This trip was her thing, her annual reset, her sacred time with friends who'd known her since she was 19 years old and figuring out who she wanted to be. I'd always respected it, never felt threatened by it, trusted her completely. She'd come back every year relaxed, happy, ready to dive back into our life together with renewed energy. But this year felt different, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why. I can't explain exactly what it was. Maybe it was the way she'd been on her phone more lately. Not obviously, not in a way I could point to definitively, but subtly. Taking longer in the bathroom with her phone, turning the screen away when notifications popped up, deleting messages immediately after reading them. Small things, easy to dismiss individually, but collectively, they formed a pattern. Maybe it was the new workout routine she'd started 3 months ago, the 5 a.m. gym sessions before work, the sudden interest in fitness classes and protein shakes and expensive athletic wear, the way her body had changed, leaner, more toned, like she was preparing for something. She said it was just about health, about feeling better about herself. But there was an intensity to it that felt like more than casual self-improvement. Maybe it was the new wardrobe, not all at once. Just gradual additions, subtle, expensive pieces that she wore to work, but never seemed to wear around me. Dresses that fit differently, lingerie I'd never seen. She said it was for herself, for her confidence. But when I'd tried to compliment her on these things, she'd brushed it off, changed the subject, acted like I'd somehow missed the point. Maybe it was the way she'd started putting her phone face down on tables. Always. Without exception. The way she'd started taking certain calls in the other room or outside or in her car. Work calls, she said, sensitive client information, confidential projects, all reasonable explanations, all perfectly logical, all probably lies. Or maybe it was the way she'd become just slightly less present when we were together, like part of her mind was always elsewhere, thinking about something I wasn't privy to, planning something I wasn't included in, living a parallel life that I could sense but couldn't see. Or maybe it was nothing. Maybe this was just what happened after 7 years of marriage, after the honeymoon phase faded and real life settled in. Maybe you started seeing shadows where there was only light. Maybe you started questioning things that didn't need questioning. Maybe paranoia was just the price of long-term commitment. But I didn't think so, because I worked in security. I was trained to spot patterns, to identify anomalies, to trust my instincts when something felt off, even if I couldn't articulate exactly why. And everything about Tessa lately felt off. "You okay?" she asked, studying my face with those intelligent green eyes that had always been able to read me better than I could read her. "You seem distracted this morning. Worried about something?" "Just tired," I lied, taking a sip of coffee that suddenly tasted bitter. "Big project at work. Deadline next week. It's been stressful." She walked over, wrapped her arms around my waist in that familiar way that should have felt comforting but somehow didn't anymore, and rested her head against my chest. I could smell her shampoo, expensive, floral, the same brand she'd been using for years. "I'll miss you. 6 days feels like such a long time. Feels like forever, actually." "It always does," I said, holding her, wrapping my arms around her shoulders. And I meant it. Despite the weird feeling in my gut, despite the questions I didn't want to ask, despite the suspicions I'd been harboring for weeks, I would miss her. Because I loved her. Or I loved who I thought she was. Or I loved who she'd been before something changed. I wasn't sure anymore. She pulled back, looked up at me with what seemed like genuine affection. "Don't call, okay? I know you worry, but I really need this disconnection. I'll be off-grid for about 6 days. No cell service at the cabin, no Wi-Fi, no way to reach me. Just nature and wine and girl talk and figuring myself out again. I need this. Need to completely disconnect from everything and just breathe." "I know," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Same as every year. You disappear into the woods and come back zen." "Exactly." She smiled, kissed me softly. "Same as every year. Just me and the girls and no connection to the outside world. It'll be good for me, for us even. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?" "Right." "I love you," she said, her eyes searching mine like she was looking for something. Reassurance, permission, absolution for something she was about to do. "Love you too," I replied, because what else could I say? Because it was true even if everything else might not be. She finished packing over the next hour, triple-checked everything with the kind of obsessive thoroughness that I'd always found charming but now seemed almost suspicious, and by 10 a.m. she was loading her Audi Q5, the car she'd bought last year with her bonus, the car that had seemed excessive at the time but she'd insisted was an investment in quality. I stood in the driveway, coffee in hand even though it had gone cold, watching her organize her suitcase in the trunk with that same meticulous precision she applied to everything. The morning sun caught her hair, made it shine like copper. She looked happy, excited, energized, like someone about to escape into freedom, like someone with a secret that made her skin glow. 6 days, she said, settling into the driver's seat, adjusting the mirrors with practiced efficiency. "I'll text you when I get there, just so you know I made it safely. Then radio silence until Monday. I'll be back late Monday night. Don't wait up for me. Have fun. Be safe. Hike carefully." She blew me a kiss, something she'd been doing since our first week of dating, a little ritual that had always made me smile, and pulled out of the driveway with a wave. I watched her car disappear around the corner, stood there in the cold November air, breath-making clouds, hands wrapped around a cold coffee mug, and felt that feeling in my gut get stronger, that instinct that something was wrong, fundamentally and irreparably wrong. Lies sound calm when they've been practiced enough, I'd think later that day, watching the video feed that would destroy everything. They sound natural, effortless, believable, rehearsed until they're smooth as glass, delivered with perfect eye contact and genuine-seeming emotion. Until you can tell your husband you're going to a cabin in the woods while actually planning something else entirely, and sound completely convincing while doing it. I went back inside. The house felt empty without her, even though she'd only been gone 5 minutes. That's what 7 years together does. Someone becomes so woven into the fabric of your daily life that their absence creates a void you can feel physically. I poured another coffee, sat at the kitchen table, stared at my phone, and waited for the text I knew would come. The text that would confirm her arrival. The text that would be the first provable lie in what I suspected was a carefully constructed deception. 2 hours later, right on schedule, my phone buzzed. Made it. So beautiful up here already. Phone's dying, though. Service is terrible. Love you so much. See you in 6 days. I stared at that text for a long time, read it 3 times, analyzed every word like I was examining code for vulnerabilities. Made it? Where exactly? Phone's dying? Convenient excuse for upcoming silence. Service is terrible. Preemptive explanation for being unreachable. Love you so much. Overcompensation? Guilt? Manipulation? Something was wrong. I could feel it in every cell of my body. That instinct that had made me good at my job, that had saved me from countless bad decisions, that had always been right even when I couldn't explain why. So I did what any network security analyst would do when something felt off, when the data didn't match the pattern, when a system showed anomalous behavior. I decided to check the logs, to verify the data, to see if what she was telling me matched what the digital trail would show. Because in my world, everything leaves a trail. Every device, every connection, every location. And Tessa wore a smartwatch that was about to tell me everything I needed to know. Here's something most people don't know about smartwatches. They're essentially tracking devices that you wear voluntarily. They monitor your heart rate, your sleep patterns, your location, your activity levels. They connect to Wi-Fi networks automatically. They sync data constantly. And if you know how to access that data stream, you can see almost everything. Tessa wore an Apple Watch, had worn one for 3 years, used it to track her workouts, her steps, her notifications. She loved it, wore it constantly, even to sleep. I'd set it up for her when she first got it, connected it to our home network, configured the health app, set up the family sharing so I could send her messages that would display on her wrist when her phone was in another room. And because we were married, because we trusted each other, because there had never been a reason not to, her Apple Watch was still connected to my Apple ID's family sharing network, which meant technically I could see where it was, what network it was connected to, what apps were being used. I'd never looked, never had a reason to. The capability was there, but using it felt like a violation of trust, like reading someone's diary or going through their phone while they were sleeping. But that afternoon, sitting in my home office, staring at my phone, feeling that persistent wrongness in my gut, I opened the Find My app. Just to check, just to confirm that everything was fine, that she was at the cabin upstate like she'd said, that I was being paranoid for no reason. I pulled up her location, and my blood went cold. Her watch wasn't showing at some remote cabin in the mountains. It wasn't showing in a dead zone with no service. It was showing at 847 Maple Street, her parents' house. I stared at the screen, refreshed it, checked again, 847 Maple Street, her childhood home. The house where her parents still lived, 30 minutes across town, the house that was supposed to be empty, because her parents were on a month-long cruise through the Mediterranean. They'd left 2 weeks ago, wouldn't be back until December. I'd helped them install a security system before they left. Had the alarm codes, had the Wi-Fi password, and Tessa's smartwatch was connected to their home network. Right now. Active. Broadcasting its location. My hands started shaking. There could be explanations. Maybe she'd stopped by the house before leaving. Maybe she'd forgotten something. Maybe she needed to check on the plants or pick up something she'd left there. But she'd texted me 2 hours ago saying she'd made it to the cabin, saying the phone was dying, saying she loved me from her parents' house. I sat there for 10 minutes, staring at the location pin on my screen, watching it remain stationary at 847 Maple Street. Not moving, just sitting there, connected to the Wi-Fi network I'd installed. And that's when the idea came to me. The terrible, invasive, potentially relationship-ending idea. I could access her parents' home security system. I had all the passwords. I'd set it up. It was one of those modern smart home systems with cameras in the living room, the kitchen, the entryway, video feeds that could be accessed remotely, They'd installed it for peace of mind while traveling. I could look. I could see if she was actually there. See if there was an innocent explanation. See if I was being paranoid or if my instinct was right. Every part of my rational mind said, don't do this. Don't violate her privacy. Don't be that person. Don't destroy trust based on a hunch. But another part, the part that had been feeling wrong for months, that had noticed the small changes, that had heard her say, don't call, with just slightly too much emphasis, that part said, you need to know. I opened my laptop, logged into the security system, pulled up the camera feeds. The house was dark, empty. The cameras showed nothing but furniture and shadows. Then I had another thought. The Apple Watch has a feature for Apple TV. You can mirror certain content, stream workouts, display health data, share screens. Her parents had an Apple TV, connected to the TV in their living room, on the same network as her watch. I'd set that up too, configured it for them, showed them how to use it, and because of family sharing, because everything was linked, I technically had access. I could mirror her watch display to that TV, see what she was seeing, what notifications she was getting, what apps she was using. It was invasive, creepy, potentially illegal, definitely unethical. But I needed to know. My cursor hovered over the screen mirroring option. Curiosity turns into instinct, I thought, clicking the button, and instinct is usually right when something feels this wrong. The connection established. The Apple TV activated. And suddenly, on my laptop screen, I was seeing what her smartwatch was seeing. At first, nothing. Just the watch face. Time, date, activity rings, then movement. The watch lifted. Tessa's wrist, identifiable by the bracelet she always wore. She was checking the time. The background changed. She was looking at messages. And then I heard it. Through the TV's speakers, picked up by the watch's microphone. Her laugh. That specific laugh she had when she was relaxed, happy, unself-conscious. And male voices. Multiple male voices. Responding to whatever she'd just said. My heart stopped. I fumbled for the security camera feeds. Pulled up the living room camera. And there she was. My wife. In her parents' house. Not at a cabin. Not with her girlfriends. She was sitting on the couch. Hair down. Wearing clothes I'd never seen before. A tight black dress that definitely wasn't hiking gear. Makeup done perfectly. Looking beautiful and happy. And like she was exactly where she wanted to be. And she wasn't alone. At first, it was just her sitting there, talking to someone off camera. I couldn't see who, just heard voices. Male voices. Laughing. The clinking of glasses. The watch microphone picked up everything. Because she was wearing it. Because it was on her wrist, transmitting every sound around her. "You're terrible," she said, laughing at something. "I can't believe you just said that." "I'm just being honest," a male voice replied. Deep, confident, amused. "Honesty from you is dangerous," she said, and the flirtation in her voice made my stomach turn. I watched the security camera feed, watched her lean back on the couch, watched her take a sip from a wine glass, watched her look toward the kitchen with an expression I recognized. Anticipation, excitement. She was waiting for someone. "How long until the others get here?" she asked. "Jake said 20 minutes. Rob and Marcus are probably already on their way," another male voice answered, younger sounding. "You sure about this?" "I've been planning this for 3 months," Tessa replied. "I'm very sure." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the laptop steady. The doorbell rang on the security feed. I watched her jump up from the couch, smooth her dress, check her reflection in the mirror by the door. She opened it. 3 men walked in. I didn't recognize any of them. Early 30s, dressed casually but expensively. They hugged her familiarly. Too familiarly. One of them kissed her cheek and let his lips linger too long. "The gang's all here," one of them said, carrying a bottle of whiskey. "Well, almost. Still waiting on Jay." "He'll be here," Tessa said, leading them into the living room. "He's always fashionably late." I counted. 4 men total now, including whoever she'd been talking to initially. And they were waiting for a 5th. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't her running into someone unexpectedly. This was planned, coordinated, something she'd been organizing for months. The annual girls' trip. The tradition I'd never questioned. Had it ever been real, or had it always been this? My mind raced through the past years. All those November trips. All those times she'd come back relaxed and happy. All those times I'd thought she'd been hiking and drinking wine with her college girlfriends. Had she been doing this the whole time? On the screen, the men settled into the living room. Someone turned on music. Someone else was mixing drinks in the kitchen. The atmosphere was comfortable, familiar. These people knew each other. This wasn't a first-time thing. Tessa sat on the couch between two of them, laughed at someone's joke, let one of them refill her wine glass, touched another one's arm while talking. The doorbell rang again. "That's Jay," she said, standing up. That same excited energy, that same anticipation. She opened the door. The fifth man walked in, taller than the others, better dressed, older, maybe late 30s. He had the confidence of someone used to being in charge. "Finally," Tessa said, and pulled him into a kiss that left no room for ambiguity. I watched my wife kiss another man, not a peck, not a friendly greeting, a real kiss, the kind of kiss that spoke of familiarity and desire and history. When they pulled apart, he smiled at her. "Missed you." "Missed you more," she replied. "Come on, everyone's waiting." They went into the living room. The atmosphere shifted. Now it was complete. Whatever this gathering was, whoever these people were, this was what she'd been planning. 5 men, 1 woman, her parents' empty house, 6 days. The watch on her wrist captured everything. Every laugh, every conversation, every touch. The microphone picked up details I didn't want to hear. Names, inside jokes, references to previous times they'd all been together. This wasn't new, this was established. A pattern. A regular occurrence disguised as an innocent tradition. I sat in my office, watching the security feed, listening through the watch audio, recording every second. And I felt something inside me break and harden at the same time. I didn't shout, didn't punch the wall, didn't call her phone or storm over there or do any of the dramatic things you see in movies. I just watched and recorded and documented everything with the cold precision of someone who works in security and knows exactly what kind of evidence you need to prove something beyond doubt. I didn't confront her, I'd think later, uploading the files to secure storage. The truth was already doing that for me. I just had to make sure everyone else could see it too. After about an hour, I'd seen enough, recorded enough, had enough evidence to know exactly what my marriage was and always had been. I closed the security app, stopped the screen mirroring, sat in the darkness of my office, and started planning what came next. I didn't sleep that night, just sat in my office organizing files, creating a timeline, documenting everything I'd discovered, screen recordings, audio files, location data showing her watch at her parents' house when she'd said she was at a cabin. I worked with the methodical calm of someone who'd already processed the emotional devastation and moved into practical mode. This is what I did for a living: compile evidence, identify threats, neutralize them. The threat had been in my own home, in my own bed, for years. By morning, I had everything organized, time-stamped, verified, irrefutable. I made coffee, showered, dressed for work, went through the motions of normal life while my marriage disintegrated in high-definition video files saved to encrypted storage. Around 9 a.m., I composed an email. To Robert Henderson, Patricia Henderson, Tessa's parents. Subject: you might want to check your living room history. Sent 9:47. A.M. Bob and Patricia, hope you're enjoying the cruise. Sorry to contact you while you're traveling, but something came up regarding the house. I've attached some security footage from yesterday. I was monitoring the system to make sure everything was secure while you're away, and I noticed some unexpected activity. You should probably be aware of what's been happening in your home. The footage speaks for itself. I'll be making some changes to my living situation in the coming days. I wanted you to hear about this directly from me rather than through other channels. Safe travels, Liam, 12 video attachments. I read it 3 times, made sure the tone was respectful but clear, made sure the evidence was comprehensive but not gratuitously detailed. Then I hit send and waited. For the first few hours, nothing happened. I worked, attended meetings, responded to emails, functioned on autopilot. Around noon, my phone started buzzing. First, Tessa's mom. I didn't answer, then Tessa's dad. I let it go to voicemail, then Tessa herself. Multiple calls. I silenced my phone. Then text messages started flooding in, from Tessa. Liam, call me, now. What did you do? My parents are calling me. What did you tell them? Liam, answer your phone. Please, let me explain. It's not what you think. I can explain everything. Please just talk to me. From her mother. Liam, we need to talk about what you sent us. From her father. Is this real? Did you verify this footage? From her brother. What the fuck did my sister do? I read them all, didn't respond to any of them. The voicemails kept coming, her mother crying, her father demanding answers, Tessa alternating between anger and panic and desperate pleading. I listened to them with the same detached calm I'd felt since last night, like I was listening to someone else's life implode, like this was happening to a character in a story, not to me. By evening, the messages had evolved. From Tessa. Liam, I'm coming home. We need to talk. I'm leaving right now. Please don't do anything. Just wait until I get there. I love you. Please remember that I love you. From her mother. We're cutting the cruise short. We'll be home in 3 days. I don't know what to say to you. I'm so sorry. This is not how we raised her. From her father. The security footage has been secured for legal purposes if needed. You're a good man, Liam. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I sat on the couch in our living room, the couch where she'd sat with me hundreds of times, where we'd watched movies and eaten dinner and talked about our future, and felt absolutely nothing. No rage, no grief, no betrayal. Just a cold, clear certainty about what came next. She said 6 days off the grid, I thought, scrolling through the desperate messages. Turns out, that's how long it took for her world to collapse. But I wasn't going to be there to watch it finish falling. Tessa came home around 9 p.m. that night. I heard her car screech into the driveway. Fast, reckless, not her usual careful parking. Heard her fumble with the key in the lock. Heard her drop her overnight bag heavily in the entryway with a thud that echoed through the house. Heard her call my name with a desperation I'd never heard from her before. Liam? Liam, where are you? We need to talk, right now. I was in our bedroom, packing, systematic, methodical. I'd already moved most of my essentials to my car over the past few hours. Clothes sorted and folded, laptop and work equipment carefully boxed, important documents secured in a waterproof container, anything I couldn't afford to replace or couldn't bear to leave behind. I was working on the second load. Personal items, photos from before her, books, the things that made a space mine rather than ours. She appeared in the bedroom doorway, framed by the light from the hallway behind her, still in that black dress from the security footage, the one I'd never seen before, the one she definitely hadn't packed for hiking. Makeup smudged and streaked from crying during the drive home. Hair disheveled, no longer styled with that careful perfection she usually maintained. She looked wrecked, desperate, terrified, like someone watching their entire world crumble in real time and unable to stop it. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaking, breaking on the last word. "Leaving," I said calmly, folding another shirt with precise hospital corners, not looking at her, continuing the task. "Moving out, ending this. You can't just leave. We need to talk about this. You have to listen to me." "There's nothing to talk about." "Yes, there is." She stepped into the room, heels clicking on the hardwood floor we'd installed together last spring. "You don't understand. It's not what it looked like. You saw something out of context." "It's exactly what it looked like," I interrupted, still packing, still not looking at her. "I have 12 hours of video footage. I have audio from your smartwatch. I have location data. I have timestamps. There's no ambiguity here, Tessa. No room for misinterpretation. I know exactly what it was. But you don't know the full story. You don't know why. I don't need to know why." Now, I zipped up the duffel bag, finally looked at her directly for the first time since she'd come home, saw the panic in her eyes, the calculation happening behind them as she tried to figure out how to spin this, how to minimize it, how to salvage something from the wreckage. "You told me you were going on a girls' trip. You went to your parents' house instead. You met 5 men there. You'd been planning it for months. That's all the information I need. That's all the context that matters. But you're making assumptions about what... Am I?" I picked up my laptop bag. "Should I play the audio for you? The conversations I recorded? Should we review the video together? Would that help clarify what I'm assuming versus what actually happened?" Her face went even paler, which I hadn't thought was possible. "You recorded everything?" "Everything the security cameras captured. Everything your watch microphone picked up. Everything." That's a violation of privacy. That's illegal." "No, it's not. Those are your parents' security cameras in their house, which I have legitimate access to for maintenance purposes. Your smartwatch audio is transmitted through your own device with your consent through family sharing. Nothing about it was illegal. Unethical, maybe, depending on your perspective, but not illegal." She sank onto the edge of the bed we'd shared for 7 years. The bed where we'd made love and talked about our dreams and held each other through nightmares and built what I thought was a life together. Her hands were shaking. "Please, just listen to me. Just let me explain." "No." I picked up my bag, moved toward the door. "I'm done listening to you. I've been listening to you for 7 years, Tessa. I listened when you said you loved me, when you said you were committed to this marriage, when you said the girls' trip was just about reconnecting with friends and finding yourself. I listened to all of it, Every word, every promise, every reassurance, and all of it was a performance. A lie wrapped in sincerity. It wasn't all a lie, she said, tears streaming down her face now, mascara making dark tracks. What we had was real. What we built together was real. Enough of it was a lie that it doesn't matter. I stopped at the bedroom door, turned to look at her one more time, tried to find some remnant of the woman I'd fallen in love with 8 years ago. Couldn't. She was gone. Or maybe she'd never existed. I'm staying at a hotel tonight, probably for the next few weeks while I find an apartment. I'll have a lawyer contact you about divorce papers next week. Her face went absolutely white, drained of all color. Divorce? Liam, no. Please. We can work through this. Couples survive things like this. We can go to therapy. There's nothing to work through. It's over. It's been over for a while. I just didn't know it. What did you tell my parents? She asked suddenly, panic rising in her voice, a new fear overtaking the initial shock. What exactly did you send them? How much do they know? The truth? Complete unedited video from their security system showing exactly what their house was being used for while they were gone. They deserved to know. Deserved to understand why their daughter needed unlimited access to their empty home. Oh my God. She put her hand over her mouth, shaking her head. They're never going to forgive me. My dad, my mother. They're going to disown me. You know how they are? They're never going to look at me the same way. Probably not, I agreed. But that's a consequence of your choices, not mine. How could you do that? Her voice rose, anger starting to mix with the panic and fear. How could you send them that? That's so incredibly cruel. That's vindictive. That's cruel. I stopped, turned back to face her fully. Let her see the coldness in my eyes that I felt in my chest. You think I'm cruel? Tessa, you lied to me for who knows how long. Maybe years, maybe our entire marriage. You planned elaborate deceptions. You used your parents' empty house for whatever that was. You made me help you pack, made me kiss you goodbye at the door, sent me a loving text message from the scene of your betrayal, and you think I'm cruel for making sure the truth came out, for ensuring that the people who were being used and lied to knew what was actually happening? That's different. No, it's exactly the same. You wanted to operate in darkness. You wanted to keep your secrets hidden. You wanted to have your regular life with me and your secret life with them, and never have those worlds collide. I just turned on the lights, made everything visible. That's not cruelty. That's transparency. I walked past her toward the front door, through the house we'd bought together, past the furniture we'd picked out, the photos on the walls of trips we'd taken and moments I'd thought were real. Where are you going? She called after me, following me to the entryway like she couldn't quite believe this was actually happening. I already told you. Hotel, lawyer, divorce, moving on with my life. Starting over without you in it. Liam, please. She grabbed my arm, desperate now. Don't you love me? Doesn't 7 years mean anything to you? Doesn't our marriage count for something? I stopped, looked at her hand on my arm, looked up at her face, saw the woman I'd trusted completely for 7 years. The woman who'd just destroyed that trust so thoroughly that I could barely recognize her as the person I'd married. I loved who I thought you were, I said quietly. The person you were pretending to be. The faithful wife who went on girls' trips and came home happy. But that person doesn't exist. Never did. So no, Tessa. I don't love you. I don't even know who you actually are, and I don't want to. I pulled my arm away, gently but firmly, walked out the front door, loaded my last bag into my car, got in, started the engine. Through the windshield, I could see her standing in the doorway of our house. Our porch light illuminated her like a spotlight. She looked small, alone, broken. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no regret, no lingering love or residual anger, just the cool, clear certainty that I was doing exactly the right thing. I backed out of the driveway we'd shoveled together last winter, drove away from the house we'd painted together last summer, left behind the life we'd built together over 7 years, and felt nothing but relief. The aftermath was spectacular in its completeness. Not for me. I'd already emotionally checked out the moment I'd seen that first video frame. I was fine. Better than fine. I was free. But for Tessa, for her family, for the 5 men whose lives got complicated when the truth came tumbling out into public view, the fallout was comprehensive and devastating. Her parents cut their Mediterranean cruise short after receiving my email. Came home after 3 days instead of the planned month-long journey they'd been saving for. Flew standby, paid premium prices, rushed back to deal with the crisis. Her mother called me once, crying, apologizing for her daughter, saying she'd raised her better than this. Her father sent a text, "You deserved better. I'm sorry you found out this way, but thank you for telling us the truth." They demanded Tessa return her house key that same day, asked her not to contact them until they decided they were ready to talk to her, if they ever were. Changed the security codes. Her father mentioned possibly writing her out of the will. Her mother stopped answering her calls entirely. The 5 men, whose identities I'd initially kept to myself, their situations unraveled quickly once Tessa, in her panic and anger, started reaching out to them, creating a digital trail that their own partners eventually followed. 3 of them were married, 1 was engaged, the last was in a long-term relationship. When their partners inevitably found out, because secrets like this don't stay hidden once they start unraveling, once one person knows the truth spreads like wildfire, their relationships imploded in spectacular fashion. Divorce papers filed within weeks, the engagement called off publicly and humiliatingly. At least 2 of them lost their jobs when it became known that workplace relationships with Tessa had violated company policies. Our town, suburban, close-knit, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business, gossip spread fast. The annual girls' trip became a running joke at coffee shops and grocery stores and school pickup lines. People talked. Tessa's reputation dissolved. She couldn't go anywhere without people whispering, pointing, judging. She had to leave her job, move to a different city 2 hours away, start over somewhere no one knew her story. I felt no satisfaction in any of it, no vindication, no sense of triumph or victory, just the quiet certainty that I'd done what needed to be done, that exposing the truth, while painful for everyone involved, had been necessary. That lies that big don't deserve protection. The divorce was finalized in 6 weeks, uncontested, remarkably clean. I kept the house. She didn't want it anyway. Too many memories, too much judgment from neighbors. I kept most of our assets. She didn't fight it, couldn't fight it, had no moral standing to argue for anything. My lawyer called it one of the cleanest, quickest divorces he'd processed in 20 years of practice. "Usually there's fighting over everything," he said, but she didn't contest a single thing. It's like she knew she had no ground to stand on. Because she didn't.